wanted to ask you before we got too far away from it was age. What age do you recommend that parents start with young athletes? They've literally come to me, and I primarily focus on, I have a background in psychology, but I focus on the physical side of performance. But, they've come to me when their child was 7 or 8 years old, and I'd say, take them outside and let them play. Let them free play and encourage them to play, and go camping and go hiking, climb a mountain or something. But you don't need a trainer that's going to dip into your budget for about a fourth of what you make every week.
Back when I was living in Seattle, I had a parent call me and said, we'd like to meet and talk about our son. And I said, well, how old's the son? And he said, he's 8. And I said, well, let's meet for coffee and talk about it. I had been approached by parents like that a lot. And the only time I'd ever work with an 8 or a 9-year-old is when the parents are crazy, so that I could teach their young man or their young lady how to deal with their parents.
Yeah.
So I met with this couple, this is Seattle, so they both worked for Microsoft.
Right.
They're all A-type, and, everything is, you got to be the best at everything. And I said, listen, just like you said, let him go play and have fun. And, if it's not soccer, which this one was about, let him try basketball or baseball or something else. And just enjoy it and get the joy of playing. And in a couple of years, if you still think he needs some help, then call me back. And that's exactly what happened. Is 2 years later, they said, do you remember us? And he's playing at this select level of soccer, but he's having trouble dealing with, not being successful. And so I worked with him for a half a year, and he became very successful. But you've got to be ready for that. So I've worked with some young kids, but like I said, mostly It's when their parents are crazy. And I'm trying to mitigate some of that. When I'm working with young kids, which isn't all that often. Most of my clients are high school and over.
Right, exactly.
But when they are that young, the parents sit in. And so I'm talking to their child, but I may be staring and talking to the child, but the lesson is to the parent.
When I decided to actually work with someone that was under 13 years old, I told mom or dad to clear the calendar, because it's mandatory that they come, because as you're, bringing up here, most of the time the lessons that are there are about the parent.
Yeah.
You learn so much about the athlete through the parent. I know I have some athletes or some parents of athletes that listen to our podcast, and I'm going to say this for them. God bless you, because dragging kids around, I did with my daughter, dragging them around at, early morning practices, games that are 5 hours away and you got to get up and go to work the next day. Hey, I get it. I understand. You don't want to waste time or effort or resources if the kid doesn't want to be there or is not going to try their best. But there's a happy middle ground there somewhere where what they're doing as their best might not look like what you think it should look like, but it's everything they have. So you got to kind of roll with it.
We used to talk about it a lot, especially back when I was doing my doctoral work, that there's this relationship with parents that parents either push, which is the wrong way or the wrong approach, but they can also pull.
Right.
And that you can pull your child along by setting the right example, by them understanding work ethic, by them understanding how to listen to your coach and how to be respectful and how to work a plan. The parents that are on the wrong side of that, the ones that are pushing. They're always pushing. Because I also, besides the sports psychology aspect, the mental training aspect, because of my soccer background, I coached soccer for 35 years, select, premier level, and high school. And you'd
Right.
run into these parents that would pay their kids for a goal. I'm going to give you $1 for every goal you score. And, by the time they're 15, it's now $20. And if you don't give them that money, they're not playing. Or if you don't give them that, if
Yeah.
they're not going to get, if they know that the only way to get that money is for them to score, they're not going to pass the ball to somebody who will score. So it takes away from the whole
Ever.
concept.
Right. They will. Yeah. That's.
So, a lot of that teaching that goes on when I'm in session with a younger athlete, all the way up to, I've had parents sit in when their son or daughter is 17, 18 years old. And, a lot of the times whether I'm teaching them how to be more mindful or I'm teaching them how to relax or how to use imagery, I'll see the parent there, they're sitting in the back, at some point I basically tell them, unless I ask you a question, you're just going to listen and take notes. But I'll see them if I'm teaching a mindfulness or I'm teaching a breathing technique, they're going to be there doing the same technique, learning it
Right.
with their time. So it's almost like they're getting 2 for 1.
It works just as well up in the stands when you're trying to keep yourself from getting overexcited as it does on the field.
I've had to not banish parents when I was coaching, but one day I was coaching, I had a girls team, under 17s, and all of a
Right.
sudden I hear this somebody shouting a rather large F-bomb. And
Wow.
I'm looking around because it's from our side of the field and I can't figure out who it is. And I asked one of the parents, where did that come from? And they pointed to one of my players' mothers. This woman's like 5'0" and she's
letting them fly, huh?
letting him fly from 30 feet behind where we are. And I walked over to her and I said, why are you over here, not up here? And she says, I can't keep my mouth shut. And at that point, I handed her a Tootsie Roll Pop and I said, keep this in your mouth.
There you go.